Blog Talk Radio.
Raw living is a state of mind, a way of being in alignment with your body. Raw living means you put yourself and your body first. Your host, Geeta Sidhu-Robb, is the founder of Nosh Detox, located in the UK. They offer innovative raw food smoothies sold across Europe. You experience it in your skin, your body, and your mind. And now it's time for Living Raw Radio.
Good evening. This is Geeta Sidhu-Robb, and it's Living Raw Radio, and I am your host for about the next 40 to 45 minutes while we talk about a topic that's really, really close to my heart. We're doing today's show slightly differently because I have got somebody interviewing me on my own show, but at least the topic in itself is juice fasting. The interviewer is Laura Bond, whom you guys already know and you've heard from several times. And your guest for tonight is Geeta Sidhu-Robb. So, hey, Laura, you there?
Hi, Geeta. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me on. It feels a little weird, I have to say, to be at this side of the mic.
Feels very comfortable for me. I'm very happy in this backseat role. And, you know, I've been wanting to ask you all sorts of questions about the juice fasts, and we've had Kate Moss in this week's Grazia talking about how she felt glowing after a 5-day juice fast, so it's definitely on the radar this week. I mean, just to start off, what other kind of feedback do you get from clients who do your juice fasts?
You get amazing kinds of feedback. I mean, in the beginning, when I brought juice fasting to the United Kingdom, so it didn't really exist for us. It wasn't an idea we were familiar with. And when I first brought it out, I was very innocent. I used to kind of blend up juices because I just thought that seemed more intelligent somehow. And it had a much stronger flavor, so I could then supersize the juices and send them out. So when I did that, I would notice that people that really liked me on day one found me a little difficult to deal with by day two because they were just like, you know, we're just not happy about things. By day three, they were throwing their toys out the pram.
Right.
So it's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, it was like an interesting emotional reaction that people were having. And it took me a while to work out that, in fact, it had nothing to do with me or us. It was just that when people did the juice fast, they got absolutely amazing reactions. So you get the physical reactions where people will say that they have lost, 10, 12 pounds, anything from 5 to 12 pounds on the 3 or 4 day fast. You have the emotional reaction where people start to really, really get very jittery because they want to eat food and they're not really happy about not eating food. And mentally, people feel just not very focused.
Yeah, but then after day 3, after they've thrown all their toys out of the pram, I mean, what then? Like sort of day 4 and 5, how does that change then?
Day 4 and 5 is amazing. I mean, the whole process, once you've actually done a juice fast, when you come out of it, and it literally is this funny peak that you hit from day 3. The minute you then go to day 4, you feel clear, you feel calm, you feel focused, you feel happy. I mean, some of the testimonials and the quotes we have, which are all online. Have you seen some of them?
Yeah, I've seen some of them. I mean, I saw some amazing feedback, actually. I was just looking at it. One woman who said that just having done just a 3-day juice fast resulted in a 5-pound weight loss. She was worried about doing it with mild IBS, but actually she had no issues at all. It helped her realize her triggers. She now no longer craves sugary drinks. She's just reconsidering her whole diet. And that 5-pound weight loss, rather than being, something that she then put back on, 2 weeks later, that's been completely sustained. So, which is brilliant.
There is a place there where when you speak to people, and they're always going on about, I mean, one of the things I'd like to talk about at this stage, at some stage today, would be about the effects of fruit sugars, how people see that. But the joy of coming out of a juice fast is it reboots your whole system. You feel fantastic. You don't crave sweets. you don't crave unhealthy. I mean, honestly, I defy anyone to do a juice fast and then eat a donut and not feel sick.
So your body, your appetite, your cravings are totally reset. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, completely. You feel so much better, and you feel clean. It's that really interesting. It's kind of like a toothbrushing for the whole body. You just feel so clean that you don't want, and then you taste something. I used to love Krispy Kreme donuts, and there was a place where I did a juice fast. I couldn't touch them again. I could just taste the synthetic sugar in it, and it made me feel sick, which is very depressing. But probably very, very good for me.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because this same woman that lost the 5 pounds, she said that after the juice fast, she no longer had any desire to eat heavy, creamy, rich foods. So it seems to be those kind of real sort of sludgy, sugary, high-fat foods that people just go, oh, not for me anymore. I've given my system a clear out, and I don't want to put that junk in the tank anymore.
Exactly. I mean, it's just one of those things where you it's amazing, actually, to think that you can do something for 3 days or 4 days, and it has such a major effect. We used to think in the good old days that you had to go sit in a retreat in Bali and shut yourself up for a week in order to feel fantastic. And one of the things, and one of the things that was my rationale behind creating this was that I didn't have time to go to sit in Bali for a whole week. I have a business, I have kids. I wanted to feel good here and now. And that was one of the reasons I created using Here and Now.
Yeah, and then you can feel amazing pre-holiday as well, and then it might even reset your appetite so you don't spend the holiday binging on all those holiday foods. Instead, you're sort of a bit more conscious about what you're putting in your body.
Completely, but Laura, also you don't get sick as soon as you go on holiday. Because how many of us go on holiday and you feel sick immediately?
Oh, yeah, because you're suddenly relaxed and you get off that plane and then, boom, you're hit with some horrible virus. That's interesting. So can we talk about the kind of immune-boosting benefits then? That might surprise some people.
Yeah, it's the body's a very interesting mechanism because it's self-correcting. It's permanently, millisecond by millisecond self-correcting. So when you give your body blended, bioavailable, easy to assimilate, fresh fruits and vegetables, it thinks, oh, thank you, God. And it's like taking high-octane petrol. It literally starts chucking it at everything that needs repairing from a cell level upwards. It starts repairing cell walls. It starts cleaning up your gut. It starts creating more enzymes. It improves your probiotics, your flora, everything. And it starts to just make you feel better. So naturally, your immunity is boosted.
That's really interesting. So it's not just what's in the juice, but it's also giving your body that period to not spend all its energy digesting food that gives the immune system sort of more energy to do all its other actions, to go through its to-do list, as it were.
Exactly. And at high speed as well, because it just thinks, oh, yay. And then as it's repairing itself, it's taking more goodness with which to repair itself. So one of the things that I actually want to flag is that there is a place where you have the juices that are made where all the fiber is thrown out, and you have the juices that are made where the fiber is kept in. Now, our juices are blended, so all the fiber is completely kept in. And what happens with that is that the cleanse is a much, much deeper cleanse because the fiber acts like a brush all the way through your colon and takes away a huge amount of junk from your system. And that is a very deep cleanse. So you do need to sort of think of yourself as having a little bit of me time and downtime when you're doing these cleanses.
And I guess with the fiber, it would mean less sugar spikes. Is that right?
Completely. Because the whole point of, that's a really, really good question, because the whole point of the way fruits and vegetables work, and it's a misnomer that vegetables don't have sugar in them and that there's only fruit that has sugar. Both vegetables and fruit have sugar in them. But what you've done is that they then go into the liver, and then they take hours for the body to properly break down. So you're not having sugar just completely hitting you and then having this huge insulin spike. That's actually not happening.
And I guess it's different. When we're talking about sugars, there's the sugars in the fizzy drinks and the processed foods, and then there's the natural sugars in the fruits and vegetables, which contain things like the polysaccharides and all the antioxidants. So that the body sort of sees and processes them in a very different way than the sort of sugar you're getting from a Krispy Kreme donut. Is that right too?
Yeah, and that sounds way more intelligent than what I said. So yeah, not only is it right, it's completely to the point, because something from a processed sugar is glucose going directly into your body. Your body has to create insulin. Your body's having to work to break it down. It's a toxic substance that your body then has to hide somewhere or to do something with. The sugar that comes off natural fruit juices that are unpasteurized and blended and keep the fiber in, the body leaps on like manna from heaven. I mean, they are just treated differently.
Yeah. I think that it's the unpasteurized point as well that so few people are aware of. That you know, every juice you'll find on the supermarket shelves has been heat treated and stripped of all sort of goodness.
It's in fact one of those really properly kept secrets that nobody hears about until they come within 5 yards of me. Come within any distance of me, I start telling you about it. So what tends to happen is that fruit juices, when they're made, and are fresh, they separate. A proper fresh fruit juice will always separate. In order to make the juices prettier and give them a longer shelf life, they're pasteurized, which means that they are boiled at a very high temperature for a very little while or a very long while, but in essence, that breaks down all the nutrients in the fruit juice, but makes it look really pretty, so it doesn't separate. So now when you've then taken this very pretty-looking juice, but with no nutrients, you then add chemical vitamins back into it, like processed vitamin C, in order to give it the nutrient content that you read about at the end of the bottle. Is never going to be as good for you as a natural vitamin C is going to be. It's just not possible.
It's not food-based. It's laboratory-derived.
Exactly. So it's just never going to be as good for you. And what happens with something like that is that you are drinking what is pure sugar into the system, which that your body's then having to deal with. And on top of that, you've added a commercial vitamin, which your liver then has to break down as well. So it's a double whammy. So it's quite a hard core thing to do to your system.
And I think so few people would be aware of that. I mean, they might think that they're taking the healthy choice by just simply choosing something that says not from concentrate, and they think, oh, that's all I need to look out for. But, you know, there's obviously a big need for more people to be aware of the word pasteurized and what it means. I mean, are you getting more and more people that seem to be clued up to the difference?
Well, we're doing our best to make them more clued up, because before you got the juices that we make, which we make fresh and we deliver to your door, and those ones, they last a maximum of 3 days unless you freeze them. But what we've also done is created a range of cold pressed juices, and it's a very interesting technique, because what that does, and this is again, juice fasting with cold pressed juices is fine. You know, that is actually something that we recommend. It's something that you can do. Nothing is as good as a fresh juice, but if anything was going to be 80% as good as a fresh juice, it would be a cold pressed juice.
So can you walk us through the process of what cold press involves?
Cold press is one of those things that, what happens is that what we do with it is we take completely fresh fruit and vegetables, we blend them, we boil them, and within a couple of hours, literally, of bottling them, they're driven to our processing plant. They're then put through a high pressure machine. So the machine has a lot of very cold water pushing at the product that's in the bottle and rotating and pressing at very, very cold temperatures. So you have, when you apply that much pressure, and mentally for you to imagine it, imagine 3 elephants standing on a little one. Squashed flat, really, isn't it? So that amount of pressure, what it does is it suspends all bacterial microbial activity in that product for a period of days.
Okay, that's interesting.
So that means that I can then take this product and put it on a supermarket shelf for a couple of weeks, not really very much longer, but for those couple of weeks, what I'm basically giving you is, in essence, a completely fresh juice. Well, as fresh as I can actually make it.
And this process, this cold press, it's quite a new sort of innovation, isn't it?
It is. When I was looking in about 2012, 2011, I spent a long time looking for a way to create a juice that I could sell, that I wanted to drink. I left my office because I spent so much time out on the road. I mean, I do all the sales and marketing for our company, and I couldn't find anything healthy to drink. It was driving me insane. So what I actually did was look for a way to put it in a bottle, and that's when I found out everything I drank normally was pasteurized, which meant that I never wanted to drink it anymore. I found cold press, camoli, and salsa, because tomatoes and avocado are really good at being cold pressed.
Oh, that's interesting, right?
Yeah, so they have that. That's why they keep that lovely green color instead of becoming, like avocado normally goes brown. But when you've got guacamole, exactly, because it suspends the bacterial activity, so it doesn't happen. And so those products work. And I thought, well, if it works with that, why doesn't it work with this? So I took. We have like 57 different juice varieties. So and the only place I could find to do this was in Northern Ireland. So and we're in England. So we filled a suitcase with juices and flew them to Northern Ireland and put them through this machine. And we came out with 7 or 8 juices that tasted nice after they'd been cold pressed, because it does a little bit affect the flavor when you press the fruit. Because like if it's natural, and you apply something to it, it changes the natural flavor of it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So we ended up like our best-selling juice was one with strawberries and oats, and I've said this before, I think. And what it did was turned it into something that tasted of old salt.
Oh, right.
Really horrible. So that was fresh. It tasted wonderful. The minute you processed it through the cold press, it tasted really horrid. So we had to throw that away. So we ended up then with a range of cold pressed juices that still tasted good after we cold pressed them, and that's how we ended up with our range of Raw by Nosh.
That's that so interesting. I would never have expected. I guess that's only something you learn in the journey, in the process of adopting these new innovative techniques, that it could change the flavor in that way. Can I ask you, Geeta, because I know you talk at conferences all over the world and you've been to America a few times. What are the sort of trends there with juicing?
Cold press. Cold press is basically the trend for forever and the day for right now, because it's now that people are understanding that pasteurized juices are not good for you, and that you shouldn't, because leading the way for, which it so often does in terms of health and well-being, but it's leading the way for cold pressed juices that are costing $10 for a 300 ml bottle of juice. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal. So because cold press is such an expensive technique and there's a high amount of wastage, it's the place where you just have to put your money down or shut up, because it's a product which just costs more to make. And I've always been, I don't know about you, Laura, but I think you feel the same way. When something that's food and it's very cheap, I'm always afraid of it.
Yeah, good nutrition. You sort of, people will argue, it's organic. Is it worth it? It's twice the price, or buying all these fresh fruits and vegetables and making things from scratch. It's so much easier and cheaper to buy something from the high street, but you can't put a value on good health. And if you don't sort of put the money into your health now, then you sort of tend to pay for it later.
Yeah, and when you're drinking something like juices, which have been, blended, you have to have such a good quality of juice, of product, of the fruit and the vegetables. Because if you don't have, you need a much higher quality of product when you're blending juices into juice fast than when you're just putting them through a juicer and throwing away the fiber. Because the sugar water in a juice, well, fine, it's going to taste the same, whatever happens. When you've got a full juice, when you've got a full fruit and you're blending fruit and vegetables, if those products aren't of the best quality that you can basically find or afford, you're going to taste it in the end product that you're juicing. So my advice is always that buy the best food that you can access or that you can afford, because food that is cheap is never going to be good for you. It's just a simple fact of life. What has happened to that food to make it so cheap? Yeah,
there's always a reason behind it. Yeah. Well, I mean, you said before that there's 57 different blends of vegetables and fruits and superfoods that you blend together. What's the most popular that you've found? Or what do people really tend to go for?
Well, it just depends. Like at the moment, for example, vegetable juices are very popular. So people went through a phase of loving beetroot, and then now nobody wants to drink it because it's very sweet and it's quite hardcore and has an interesting effect on the body.
Yeah,
Really, really. Kale juice is very popular at the moment. But it's a product that is not easy for everybody to digest, kale,
right.
Especially when you blend it. Have you not found that?
Yeah, I found that, and I've also heard too much kale. If you're really going for the kale and it's too much raw, that some women can get sort of thyroid issues from overdoing that. But of course, just in one juice a day of it or whatever, it's powerfully good for you and has so many anti-cancer properties and immune boosting properties and everything else. But I have heard of sort of side effects from too much raw kale. Like anything, there can be too much.
Exactly. And then people get all excited about it and think every meal has to contain it. There's no point in doing anything too extreme, really. If you can balance yourself across it, that's better. I find that our fruit blends are very popular. I mean, anything with banana and avocado in it and spinach goes a really, really long way. People love those.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
It is interesting. It's very funny because I think there's something about banana. It's the whole tryptophan, I think, in banana that makes you feel good. So when you look at a banana, you just feel like it's a wonderful thing and it feels good. And so you look at it and it starts to, create all that chemical reactions in your system. So those are very popular. We have nut milk, weirdly, even though I know that's not exactly a fruit juice, but nut milk are very comfort type drinks. Love those. Berries, anything to do with berries. But one of the weirdest things, our bestseller at the moment is wheatgrass.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, do you like wheatgrass?
I'm totally into wheatgrass, and the benefits are just fantastic. It's a deodorizer, cleanses the blood. That's my favorite sort of antioxidant to go on and on about to people, because I really have felt it myself. I've seen with different clients that the benefits that it's brought them. I do think it's a wonder food. So I'm pleased to hear that it's growing in popularity.
Do you take wheatgrass every day?
I do. I have a shot of it every day, and it does really feel like you're cleansing the system. All that chlorophyll is really oxygenating the body, and it does feel like a little shot of vitality.
Yeah. I mean, my issue with it is that I really don't like the taste of wheatgrass. I drink it and I'm just like, oh my God, because it's so sweet. I really struggle with it. So we crush it with mandarin, just to make it into a slightly taller drink, which means that you can get your wheatgrass and not have to struggle with it. There's a lot of people that, when you're very unhealthy, wheatgrass can really, really cause quite an extreme reaction. There are people that will have nausea. There are people that will be ill, and they really struggle with it. So we've been looking for a way to try and get wheatgrass to as many people as we can, so that they're not getting sick from drinking the wheatgrass. One of the things that we've done is we crushed it with mandarin, and that's fantastic. That's doing really, really well. People are
okay, so you've had good feedback from that then.
Yeah, and also I'm such a chicken, because I'm just like, ew, I don't like it, but I know I want it. Well, I don't mind it on day one. I can have pure wheatgrass. Day two, I'm kind of okay with wheatgrass. By the time we're on day three, I'm like, man, I'm not drinking this. You can't make me. So by that stage, I invented the mandarin, and then we did that.
I think it's a genius idea, because something that's so powerfully good for you, you don't want people to be turned off immediately. They try it once, they hate it, they're never going to try it again. So it's much better to definitely bring it to more people that way. By softening the blow with some delicious crushed mandarin. That sounds, amazing. Yeah,
and I mean, also the thing with it is that it just goes to show you that you can take whatever you've got lying around in your kitchen and make juices out of it. You can make juices with cucumber, juicing with courgette. Take off the skin from it, really, because unless it's an organic one, and blend it with something slightly acidic, and blend it with something that, because they will provide the greens will provide much of the water kind of content when you're creating juices. So in my brain, I pick one creamy, one acidic, one high water content, and that's how I build juices. Because most of the juices that we have are juices that I have. One way or another, I've created them because I like creating them, and I sort of see, I balance them out with what goes into them and what goes across the day that you have. And I've always used that as a methodology to create them because, so for example, I would take, that's why I thought of it, banana, and then I would take spinach, and then to that I would add something that had a high water content as well, and just orange for that would go really well, for example.
Ah, okay.
And it would just make a really lovely drink.
In terms of building up juices, I mean, what would you recommend in sort of with, still in midwinter, skins, everyone's skin's sort of dry, we're sitting around central heating. What's the best sort of hydrating drink for our skin for winter? What blend might you recommend?
Well, anything with high doses of vitamin C is really fantastic. So if you've got, for example, orange, banana, and spinach as a base, that works really well. You could then replace the banana with avocado, and you can put celery in it if you want something a little bit more savory. That works really well. You could chuck in maybe one tomato, but you want to be very careful with mixing reds and greens in a drink, because I've done that a lot, and they end up sludge brown colored, which is really So you want to take maybe one red and a lot of green, or one green and a lot of red, and then that way around you create a better, a
vibrant, veiny, beautiful, tall-looking drink rather than something slightly muddy.
Exactly, and I kind of look at muddy and think, whatever, and I drink it. But in fact, when you make a juice, you want to have one clean note throughout the juice. And I know it sounds weird to say that, but if you think of it as a musical note, you would want one clean note throughout the juice. So is your juice going to be a clear, savory juice? Is it going to be a clear, sweet and creamy juice? Is it going to be just a tropical, slightly acidic juice? For example, rocket and pineapple is the most fantastic mix.
Oh, I would never have thought about that.
Yeah. You can chuck a little bit of wheatgrass, watercress if you like in that, and a bit of lemon, but it's amazing what you can do with that. So pineapple and rocket, but that has a very clear note. You're not kind of putting too much stuff in it, messing it about, which I tend to do. I tend to throw 15 things in one blender and then think, ew, why did I do that?
I've certainly done that before. You're throwing in the turmeric and the beetroot and the celery, and at the end you're like, oh, that was pretty full on.
And you forget that they have such strong taste when they haven't been cooked.
Yes, it's true. That
and the
rocket
one
with pineapple is a great idea, though, because people so often end up with rocket left in the back of their fridge. They've had dinner and they've had a little rocket salad or something, so it's good. That's really good for people to know that they can use that.
And in fact, your idea of the turmeric you could put into that as well. That would be fantastic because it's already yellow. You may as well add a bit more zing to it.
Oh, okay. So rocket, turmeric, pineapple. Gonna have to try that.
Bit of lime, maybe you might want to put in. That would work really well. Then you've got the one that we fondly call as a crapple. Carrot and apple. We should call it the crapple, which is probably very rude. That one can sustain an awful lot of ginger really, really well, and that acts as a brush for the colon, so it's phenomenally effective. But you want to start gently with that and not just chuck it at yourself. The other things that work, what's unusual? Weirdly, strawberries, oats, and like water or a nut milk create a fabulous product that and even if you put a bit of banana, so maybe bananas, strawberries, and oats with some water or an oat milk or a non-dairy milk, make you feel like you're having a milkshake.
That sounds incredible. I mean, with the oats, do you soak them before you put them in the
No, I don't. I just chuck them in and walk away. The thing what I do is that every smoothie I'm making, I will put in crushed ice, because there's something about drinking it ever so slightly cold that just makes it all taste better.
Okay, yeah. That's it's funny about the ice thing. I mean, I remember hearing from sort of a holistic expert in America. It said if you want to get people to give up Coca-Cola, get them to drink it at room temperature, because
it's disgusting.
It's so different.
Yeah.
So that's interesting about the juices. But I mean, because you can't stop me from having juice. I mean, I just love the flavor. You know, you become quite addicted to raw, fresh juices when you start. But for those that are new to it and sort of need to ease their way in, that's a really interesting tip, that adding ice to it can really help with the taste and the sort of experience of it.
And the other thing with juice fasting is it's a brilliant place to hide really lots of stuff. So spirulina, chlorella, sea greens, they just have really, really strong taste. I mean, it's quite painful sometimes. And there's not a lot of people that like them, especially for kids, for example. They really hate the taste of something that's seaweedy and smelly. So which is why I invented my blended smoothies in the first place, because I was trying to con my children into drinking really healthy stuff. But I keep in my fridge, I have a blend of whatever's lying around. So I put in hemp seeds for protein, sesame seeds, I put in flax seeds, chia seeds, some almonds, and because I'm vegetarian, I'm looking for sources of protein throughout my day. I blend that into a powder, and I leave it in my fridge. So when I'm now creating my smoothie, I take a tablespoon of that and a tablespoon of any form of green powder, which is like the Nosh superfood. So I have my chlorella, spirulina, everything in it. And I put all of that into a smoothie and I blend it. So that by the time I'm drinking my smoothie, I don't have to think about it. It has everything I need in it.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's like a one-stop shop for your daily goodness.
Yeah, I mean, and do you do that? Do you put stuff in your smoothies? Because I see no reason to drink it without putting all the stuff in it. I hate tablets. I'm never going to take supplements unless they're easy. So for me, I know that my body needs the omega-3s and it needs all the stuff, and I put it all in my smoothie. And then I take my smoothie with me.
It's a good idea. I put maca in the smoothie. I do like that. I mean, I must admit, I do take a few supplements, but I like the sprays and the kind of liposomal versions. It's definitely all about getting bioavailable versions of the supplements, because otherwise, I agree with you, sort of throwing your money away and not really absorbing much of it.
Yeah, you're not really, and also when you're taking your supplements, if you can take them in a way that it works for you, you will do it every day. You just don't have to think about it. Whereas if you have to think about it, you're just not going to do it.
Yeah, that's true. So it's like creating routine around these things, so it just becomes a mindless something that just happens, rather than something you've got to think about fitting into, your busy day. And
yeah, and maca is one of those wonderful things that, like, maca creates that lovely creamy flavor, which is a bit like hot chocolate. So maca is something that I love to mix with nut milk and various things. So it's just
yeah.
And it's
got that natural sweetness as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's just very comfort foody. I'm now getting really seriously hungry at the end of this conversation.
I know, I need to dinner. What am I having for dinner? Oh, maybe I should have a juice.
Where's my juice?
As we're going towards the evening, though, can I just have one more question about the juice fast? I mean, do clients find it hard to sleep on their juice fast? Because I know people think, I don't want to be hungry, I won't be able to sleep at night. I mean, is that something that's an issue or not really?
Oh, no, they're delighted to go to bed. Seriously, because usually they're a little, the body is working so hard to clean that you're actually a little bit tired. So sleeping on juice fast is absolutely not an issue, ever. It just isn't an issue. By the time you get to the evening, you're just like, okay, where's the bed and how do we move on? Vitamin drips are very different. When you have a vitamin drip and you try and fall asleep, it's quite tough the first day to fall asleep, I found. But juicing, never.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's enough of an incentive for, I'm sure, many people out there to want to try it, because if you're not dealing with weight issues, which, most of us are, but if you're not dealing with that, then so many of us are suffering from insomnia and problems like that. So perhaps, doing a juice fast would help set circadian rhythms, maybe, even.
Well, I find that when I travel, that's what I do. I find that the day before or the day I'm traveling, I'm on juices. And then when I land, the first thing I do is get fruit from where I am. And I always have a little blender with me. And I make juices from where I am.
So you take a blender with you? That's amazing.
I do. I take one of those little baby blenders. What is it called? There's a word for it. It's bullet. The magic bullet.
Oh, my gosh.
It's phenomenal. Yeah, it's phenomenal. And it has a little jug thing that comes with it. And it just sits in your suitcase. And when you land wherever you're going, you buy fresh fruit and veg. And you shove it in, and it's just phenomenal because you sort of adapt so much faster because your body's picking up the soil and the rhythms of the country that you've got to. So
I love that. Really, I love that.
Yeah. It's fantastic, what's the word, counteract to jet lag.
That's a great tip. Everyone should be, listening into that. That's definitely something I'm going to try next time I go on the long-haul flight back to Australia and take my little mini.
Yeah, because, you can't carry fruit and vegetables into America. So I fly so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know that. But I fly so much to America that I had to find a way to cope with it. And then when you fly, you always get constipated or your stomach gets funny. And so this is just a fantastic way for you to just rebalance yourself, rehydrate by putting lots of flaxseed in your body. And so I just walk in, I buy loads of fruit and veg. I have a knife and a plastic bowl. I usually take my plastic bowl with me. Buy a little knife for cutting, and I'm sorted.
That's perfect. That's really good.
Thank you very much. That was just lovely. It's been a real pleasure being interviewed.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've got so many tips. I'm thinking about the rocket at the back of my fridge now. I think I might have to go home and make a juice. Pick up some pineapple on the way.
Yeah, it's because in the raw food market, we have very good pineapple dressings. And it's just a wonderful way to make it. So I thought, well, why don't I make a juice out of it? And that's what I did instead. But that's just fantastic, Laura. Thank you so much for being my
Geeta. Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
It was wonderful. Oh, such a pleasure.
Good evening.
Yes, bye. You too. We'll be having you back again. This is Living Raw Radio. And that was the amazing, wonderful Laura Bond and Geeta Sidhu-Robb, not quite as your host, but as your pseudo-host. And thank you so much for joining us this evening. I hope you learned something about juice fasting. I'm completely passionate about juice fasting, and it is something that I absolutely love, recommend, and cannot praise highly enough as a methodology for health. Good night. Bye-bye.
Detox is an award-winning company for your ultimate health improvement. Nosh Detox system works on all areas of the body, having dealt with thousands of clients whose health dramatically improved within days. For more details, visit noshdetox.com. noshdetox.com.
Sluggish? Do you feel bloated? Is your energy levels really low? Do you find everything that you eat goes straight to fat? My name is Candice, and I am the naturopathic nutritionist at Nosh Detox. I am here to tell you that your body needs a rest. If that sounds like you are ready to try a Nosh juice fast. A juice fast is the most natural way for your body to detox, while providing you all the life-saving minerals and vitamins that your body needs and craves. From beginners to advanced juices, we have all the options that may be available to you or suited to you. Call me on 0845 257 6674 or go to noshdetox.com and click on the right program for you. I'm right here to help you and support you. Thank you.